One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on thecynicalbrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. The day today is the 12th of March, 2010. It's Friday! It's 8 p.m. in the real country. It's 3 p.m. in the eastern side of the fake country. And those other lesser countries can go to hell. Bigotry, xenophobia. It's what we're all about here on our show. And casual misogyny. We're good at that too. Okay, so now I've driven away 75% of my listeners, let's go on with the show, because we won't want too many of those now, would we? They'll stink up the place. It's a fire hazard. It's been a long and hard week, ladies and gents. You don't need to hear about it, so I won't tell you, but needless to say, it's been a long and hard week. So, all I want to do is do shows. Because, indeed, you dare look upon the host of souls! I shall devour you all! Nom nom nom. The host of shows said, you must stay and listen, or I shall devour you all! You can imagine that the Devourer of Souls probably had a really bad week when he went in there. You know, he's been constantly badgered at work. Perhaps he works in retail. That would make sense, considering the anger. So, he works a retail job, tries to get by, he's making minimum wage, he comes home, he's absolutely exhausted, he just wants to chill out, relax, maybe devour a few thousand souls. And who should turn up at his door but a bunch of adventurers wanting his loot? And how would you react, ladies and gentlemen, if that happened? Exactly. You'd sound like that. You dare look upon the host of shows? He's so upset. And it's your fault. Don't blame anyone but yourself. You have to take responsibility for this kind of thing. If you're going to barge in there, then what do you expect to happen? Have some damn empathy. Ugh. What are we got coming in from the show today, folks? Many things. So, oh my god. Including spittle and mucus. Yes, those are coming up in the show in regular quantities. Now, I shall be fine. There's a problem with my job. I don't know what it is. I think the air in that place is too dry, but it blocks up my nose. It makes me cough. It's horrible. It's like the entire place is coated in asbestos. So at least I've got a good lawsuit on the way. Hope they're not listening to this show, otherwise I won't have a job when I come in on Monday. Never mind. So, I'd like to tell you that you're not a unique and beautiful snowflake. Or in the case of this article, you are not a unique and beautiful ice block. I'll be telling you why a little bit later on the show, as a columnist for WoW.com makes the case for populist garbage. If you want to learn how to be a good player, I would not recommend reading that column at this time, because he seems to have gone off the rails a bit. We'll explain why a little bit later on the show. Also, first hands-on experience with the new buff that you are given in ICC, and anecdotal evidence that it in fact makes your guild play like retards. Yes, I am not kidding. You'll find out more about that a little bit later on the show, folks, as I tell you the triumphs and failures of Dark with the Skies when they decided to use the 5% buff to farm the content easier. Oh god. Don't even get me started. Well, you can get me started, but not yet. Also, the Bloodwing. We finished it. I'm going to talk about it, and I must attest some degree of apathy to ICC at present. But, to be honest, the bosses in the Bloodwing are pretty cool, so I'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. And of course, your chance to contribute, as always, ladies and gentlemen, it is the illusion of choice. You can contribute to the show by emailing themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. But wait, I may have retired that email address. So why don't you instead email themurloc@cynicalbrit.com? Yes, after 6 years, I finally started to make use of my domain names instead of a freaking Gmail account. I'm wonderful. What can I say? Email themurloc@cynicalbrit.com for your chance to contribute to the show. It's the illusion of choice. Best topic will be picked at the end. Oh, yeah. Right, so, I've got a couple of things to talk about. First things first, ladies and gents, Shoutcraft is coming up later this evening to 11 PM real British time. That's 6, as I recall, Eastern. Check it out. It's going to be on the front page of our site, as well as vtwproductions.com. Myself and Emperor doing some shoutcasting. Yeah, play-by-play for StarCraft 2. It's going to be fantastic. And, of course, you'll be getting access to full 1080p videos, if all goes well, sometime over the weekend. It's going to be great, and you can tune in for your chance to win a StarCraft 2 beta key. Yes, indeed. Going to be having a contest for that. You can find out more about that on the show this evening and on the HD YouTube videos that are going out over the weekend. Is that all? No, indeed it is not, because we've got another contest running at the moment for Gaming the System, which you may want to get involved in. You get a chance to win a copy of Bad Company 2 for the PC. And all you need to do is draw some Cynical Brit fan art. Gaming the System fan art, Blue Please fan art, Cynical Brit fan art, anything like that. Draw something, the funniest or the best will receive a copy of that game. Send it in to themurloc@cynicalbrit.com. What else have we got? Well, I found something rather amusing today. So, because of the website that I run a series of what's called Google Alerts, and these notify me on a daily basis to certain keywords and URLs. So, for instance, I want to know who's linked I Suck at StarCraft 2. So, I punch in the URL for that into Google Alerts, and every day I get an email which gives me all the information about all the new posts regarding my particular work. Now, as you might imagine, that's kind of useful. It's useful for tracking where my traffic's coming from, it's useful for following up on promotional opportunities, and of course getting feedback. So, I keep cynicalbrit.com in there as well to see who's linking to it, and I found something rather amusing. Yes, indeed. Incredibly amusing. So, up comes my Google Alert, and on my Google Alert I see something rather odd. And the title is VS US Nessingwary. I'm like, what? So I look at it, and the summary is personal information, quote, the shock job DJ of the cynicalbrit.com, military at Fort Lewis, WA, what's that, Wisconsin, Wyoming, something like that, I don't know. And devoted rate of an all-round charismatic mate. First name, Ray. Ray? My name isn't Ray. I have a good manly name, John, yes, with an H, I might add. So I went to this site and I discover it's a US guild, and there's a guy here pretending to be me. I kid you not. This guy actually pretended to be me in order to apply to a guild in the US. I found this hilarious. So I went there and I looked at this, and the only mention... Well, he's taken my character name, but he hasn't spelt it correctly. Total Biscuit. Yes. And I'm looking at this, and he says personal information, the shock job, which I assume was supposed to be jock. I don't know how you misspell a 4-letter word with a 3. Good lord. The shock job DJ at thecynicalbrit.com. Right, okay, so... Firstly, you link to a site that blatantly isn't yours, claiming to be me. Secondly, you're American. Do I sound American to you? No, I don't really. Should be easy enough to work this out. I was rather surprised by this, honestly, so I go and look at his armory, and I find out he's playing a healer. Well, that just tears it, doesn't it? Who the hell, seriously, who the hell would try and pull something like that? It is absolutely absurd. I can't imagine. I've had people imitating me in the past, and loads of people steal my name for whatever reason. There's a couple of level 80 Total Biscuits around the place that aren't me. There was only one real one, ladies and gents, and it is on Masrigo EU. I just found it hilarious, absolutely freaking hilarious, that this guy would imitate me, of all things. It's crazy. So, if you want to know where he is, then let's have a look. He, I believe, is on the Nessingwary server. Let's double check that. Got his armory here. Yes, he's on the Nessingwary server. His name is Total Biscuit, spelled B-I-S-C-U-T. He's on Horde side, so perhaps you might want to have a little word with him and point out that imitating me is a really dumb idea. Especially when I say, I am the shock jock DJ. Like, no, I am Spartacus. Oh, come on. I can get unoriginality, but trying to imitate someone to apply for a guild? Are you crazy? Dear Lord. The lengths some people will go to these days to get into a raid. I think it's time for this.
Mail time!
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag
my tail.
when it comes.
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks. It's the mail time. The time is where we read us the mailus. So, I'm going to do this one very briefly. It's not actually a question or anything like that, but I'm going to read it out because it's a dedication. So, it comes like this. Hey TB, my grandfather recently passed away and I'm having a hard time dealing with it. We were and have always been very good friends. As you can understand, I'm very sad right now. Would like to express my sincere thank you. Your shows have always cheered me up when I'm feeling down and sometimes even made me laugh out loud. Your amazing rants and drop-ins, so thank you, Total Biscuit. Well, I totally get that, really. I can relate to that more so than anything. You know, I was really close to my grandfather, and he actually passed away 2 days before my finals at university, which in combination with a nasty breakup around the time really torpedoed my marks, which was unfortunate. But the most important thing was the fact that I thankfully had the chance to speak to him before he passed on, and I was very lucky to have someone that supportive in my life as I grew up, so I totally get it. There's a lot of people who are very close to their grandfathers. I think that some people don't really understand that. Some people view them as sort of ancillary, tertiary to the family life. We were never like that. So, you got my heartfelt condolences there, seriously. I know what you're going through, and I'm glad that I can cheer you up a little bit. That always makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. So, he knows who he is, no need to announce his name, but on we go with a real question. This one's coming from Joseph Brewer, and he says this. Well, I bring this up because of constant discussions on my realm over Gearscore. This often comes up when people are requesting what seems to be an insane Gearscore for something uber easy. An example would be when the weekly kill was Razor Scale. I myself was fine with a 5435. But it spent over an hour as the raid leader was booting people with lower than 5.4 gear score. I know the raid leader has the right to do whatever. When does a player just become a number and not a person with experience and skill? Especially when you see a DK with 5.5 gear score but no enchants and gems for SP and Zert around here. Yeah. People that use gear score are incredibly dumb, and it's not because I disagree with the concept of gear score. No. It's not that I disagree with that. I understand the reason behind a easy quantification system for random players in game. You talk about skill, you talk about experience. There is literally no way of judging that without prior knowledge of the player in question. And if it's a pug, you don't have that. You are not going to interview every single person that comes into your pug you'd be on all damn night. You're not even necessarily going to go and check the armory of everyone that comes to your pug. Again, you would be taking far too much time than you want to. You'd be spending more time looking for the group than actually doing the boss, which is ridiculous. Nobody wants to do that. So I understand why people use Gearscore. The problem is, the system sucks. It's an incredibly bad system. If you want a real quantification system, then get Elite's group, because it's much better. Gearscore doesn't take into account stuff like gems, it doesn't take into account stuff like enchants properly, so you end up with people like that in the group. And indeed, it's based almost entirely on item level, which means a guy could have a bunch of 261s that are totally inappropriate for him, and would still have mad gear score. Whoopity frickin' do. That's nonsense, that's rubbish. You've got to bear in mind, though, the reason that people use this. And you can't blame them entirely for it. You can blame them certainly for being out of date, and they should be using a better mod. Again, like Elitist Group. But you can't blame them for wanting to protect themselves from stupid players. There are so many of them out there. Would you want to take scrubs into your group that could potentially wipe your raid? I don't care if it's easy or not. It's also part of a philosophical idea and a set of standards that people don't want to carry people. Yeah? We've seen it happen. It was back in 40-man raids. Players were carried through content, and that sucks. No one wants to carry another player who they don't know through content. It's like, this player is not helping. This player doesn't care. This player has no regard for you and the rest of the group's experience. They want free loot, and they don't want to work for it. So you can use Gearscore and you can use Elitist Group to try and protect yourselves from those kind of players. It doesn't work all the time, but there is no foolproof system other than getting a guild. If you're not in a guild, then I think you are making a grave mistake. You can avoid players like that by simply playing as the game intended you to begin with. It's as simple as that. Cataclysm is going to make guilds more viable, and if you're not already in a guild, you'll want to consider it for Cataclysm, because you're going to be missing out on a ton of benefits that you will not get as part of a pug. I can't remember the last time I ran the weekly as a pug. Why? Because I have a guild. Why would I need to? I just get my raid together, go do the weekly, done. Go do VOA, done. 5 minutes flat. Then I can get on some real content. I don't have to worry about slackers, because I don't recruit slackers. Having that kind of control is important to making sure that your game is fun. So for God's sake, take a little bit of control of your game experience and don't play with idiots. That's on you. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. No, you're not. I wondered when that would slip. CynicalBrit.com, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back after this. Nocturnal Rights, fools never die. Remember that. Enjoy.